Alright, what is up, everybody? This is my Impact Wrestling review, so let's jump right into tonight's show for Impact Wrestling tonight. This was a pretty okay show for Impact Wrestling. It was an okay show. It wasn't the best show by any means at all. Impact Wrestling, Impact Wrestling tonight wasn't the best show by any means. It was an alright show. I thought it was okay. I wouldn't call it the best show Impact Wrestling has ever put on. I wouldn't say that. I would say it was an okay show. I would say that. Did I think it was a good show? I no. I thought it was an okay show for what it was. It wasn't the best show they've ever done by any means. So let's just jump right into the show to start off Impact Wrestling tonight. To start off the show, we had Chris Sabin versus Josh Alexander to start off the night in a one-on-one men's match tonight on Impact Wrestling. This was a pretty decent one-on-one men's match tonight on Impact Wrestling between Josh Alexander and Chris Sabin of the Motor City Machine Guns. This was an alright one-on-one men's match for the night for Impact Wrestling to start off the show. I thought this match was alright. I thought it was a pretty decent men's match. It was pretty decent to be a one-on-one men's match tonight to start off Impact Wrestling tonight. I thought it was a pretty decent to okay men's match between Josh Alexander and Chris Sabin of the Motor City Machine Guns tonight to start off Impact Wrestling. I thought this match was all right. I thought this match was pretty decent. I didn't really think much about this match. I really didn't think much. I didn't really think much about this match between Chris Sabin and Josh Alexander to start off Impact Wrestling. I thought it was just an alright to decent one-on-one men's match to start off the night for Impact Wrestling tonight. I thought it was an alright match to start off the show in a one-on-one men's match between Chris Sabin and Josh Alexander of the North. I thought this was a pretty decent to okay men's match. It wasn't really nothing to write home about during this match with Chris Sabin and Josh Alexander of the North. This match wasn't really all that great. It was an okay to decent men's one-on-one match tonight on Impact Wrestling. This match was just decent enough to be okay for what it was to be a men's match tonight on Impact Wrestling. And Chris Sabin ends up picking up the win over Josh Alexander by a roll-up tonight to start off Impact Wrestling. And then we have Brian Myers versus TJP. This was another one-on-one men's match tonight on Impact Wrestling. Tonight on to start for the show for Impact Wrestling tonight, we have Brian Myers versus TJP. This match went about a minute and a half at that. I really didn't. I'm not really a fan of Brian Myers. I'm not a fan of TJP. I was never a fan of TJP at all. I was never a fan of Brian Myers at all. So, but this was an okay match between Brian Myers and TJP tonight on Impact Wrestling. This was an alright match. It wasn't really all that good of a men's match. It didn't blow me away. It didn't make me jump out of my seat and say, oh my God, I'm going to rewatch this match again. It didn't really do that. It just was okay to be a men's match tonight on Impact Wrestling between Brian Myers and TJP. This men's match wasn't all that great. I didn't really care for it all that much. It really didn't do anything for me. I'm not a fan of TJP. I'm not a fan of Brian Myers by no means. This match didn't really do anything for me. It really didn't. There was really nothing special in this match with Brian Myers and TJP. It didn't make me say, oh my God, I'm going to rewatch this match again. I wouldn't go back and rewatch this match at all. Brian Myers ends up picking up the win over TJP. Like, anybody cares about that. I don't really care about this match between TJP and Brian Myers. Brian Myers picks up the win over TJP. And then we had um and then we had um we had then we had Eric Young versus Cody Deaner. I didn't really care about this match between Cody Deaner and Eric Young. I didn't really care for it. I mean, I like Eric Young as a heel. That's about it that Eric Young has going. Eric Young as a heel is cool, but as an in-ring competitor, he only has one move, and that's a pile driver. So, I mean, that's pretty much Eric Young has going for him in the in-ring competitor. As an in-ring competitor, he only has one move, and that's a pile driver, which I don't really care for. Eric Young and Cody Deaner, this match was just okay. It was just an okay men's match. It wasn't that great. I mean, we had 3 men's matches to start off the night for Impact Wrestling, which I just don't understand. But, I mean, we had Eric Young versus Cody Deaner, which I wasn't into. I just couldn't get into. This match really didn't this match did nothing for me. I didn't really care for this match tonight between Cody Deaner and Eric Young. I couldn't really get into the match. I mean, this match, it really didn't do anything for me. It wasn't that good of a match anyway. It was just a decent to okay men's match tonight on Impact Wrestling with Eric Young versus Cody Deaner. I really didn't really get anything out of this match between Eric Young and Cody Deaner. It was just an okay to decent men's match tonight on Impact Wrestling between Cody Deaner and Eric Young. I didn't really care about this match at all. It really didn't do anything for me. This match between Cody Deaner and Eric Young wasn't that great. It didn't wow me at all. It didn't make me say, wow, I would go back and rewatch this match again. I wouldn't go back and rewatch this match between Eric Young and Cody Deaner either. I wouldn't even go back and rewatch this match because the match wasn't that great, to be honest. It was decent at best. It was decent to okay. And Eric Young ended up picking up the win over Cody Deaner. And then we got the Knockout Women's Tag Team Tournament match. Deonna Purrazzo and Kimberly versus Rosemary and Taya. This was a Knockout Women's Tag Team Tournament tonight on Impact Wrestling with Deonna Purrazzo, the Virtuosa, and Kimberly versus Rosemary and Taya. This was a okay to decent women's Knockout Women Tag Team Tournament match tonight on Impact Wrestling. I thought this women's Knockout Tag Team Tournament match was pretty decent. I enjoyed it for the most part for what it was. I didn't really think much about this Knockout Women's Tag Team Tournament match tonight with Deonna Purrazzo, the Virtuosa, and Kimberly versus Rosemary and Taya. I just didn't read too much into it. I mean, I've kind of lost interest in the tournament now. They're not really doing anything special with the tournament for Impact Wrestling with the Knockout Women's Tag Team Tournament. They're not really doing anything special with the tournament. Deonna Purrazzo and Kimberly got eliminated from the tournament, so I've kind of lost interest now. So, I mean, the only way I can care about this Knockout Women's Tag Team Tournament is if Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz win the tournament, but I doubt that will happen. But, I mean, since Deonna Purrazzo and Kimberly got eliminated from this Knockout Women's Tag Team Tournament tonight by Rosemary and Taya in the Knockout Women Tag Team Tournament match tonight on Impact Wrestling in this Knockout Women Tag Team Tournament match, I've lost interest in this tournament, to be honest. I've kind of lost interest in the women's Knockout Women Tag Team title tournament. I've just kind of lost interest in it. I really don't have an interest in the Knockout Women's Tag Team Title Tournament match. I'm just not really interested anymore. This was a decent Knockout Women's Title Tag Team Tournament match tonight with Taya and Rosemary versus Kimberly and Deonna Purrazzo. I thought this women's knockout tag team title tournament match was all right. I didn't really think that much about it. It was a decent knockout women tag team title tournament match tonight with Rosemary and Taya versus Deonna Purrazzo and Rose and Deon. We had Rosemary and Taya versus Deonna Purrazzo and Kimberly in this knockout women tag team title tournament match tonight on Impact Wrestling, and it was just all right to decent. I didn't really care for it all that much. It didn't really do anything for me. I didn't really care about it all that much. It was just a so knockout women tag team title tournament match tonight on Impact Wrestling with Taya and Rosemary versus Deonna Purrazzo, the Virtuosa, and Kimberly. So this match was just so. It was decent. It was what it was to be a knockout women tag team title tournament match tonight on Impact Wrestling, and the team of Taya and Rosemary ended up picking up the win over Deonna Purrazzo, the Virtuosa, and Kimberly tonight in the knockout women tag team title tournament match tonight on Impact Wrestling, and Taya and Rosemary events into the knockout women's title tag team tournament. And then we had Sami Callihan. Sami Callihan come out and cut a promo, talked about how he took out Eddie Edwards. I thought this was pretty cool. I'm a huge fan of Sami Callihan. Sami Callihan is an awesome heel. I thought this was a pretty good promo tonight by Sami Callihan, and he come out talking about how he took out Eddie Edwards with a baseball bat. I thought that was pretty cool. I like Sami Callihan as a heel on Impact Wrestling. I'm a huge fan of Sami Callihan. I think he is pretty cool. And he came out tonight and talked about how he sent Eddie Edwards home by hitting him in the face with a baseball bat, which I thought was pretty cool. I really like the heel work of Sami Callihan. I think Sami Callihan is a great heel on Impact Wrestling. And then we had the main event of Impact Wrestling tonight with Chris Bay and Moose versus Rich Swann and Willie Mack. This was a 2-on-2 men's tag team match in the main event of Impact Wrestling tonight. This main event was so. I didn't really care for it all that much. I'm not a huge fan of tag team wrestling. I'm just not, man. I'm going to be honest. I'm just not a fan of tag team wrestling. So tonight in the main event of Impact Wrestling in the tag team scene, we had Chris Bay and Moose versus Willie Mack and Rich Swann. This was a 2-on-2 men's tag team match in the main event of Impact Wrestling. This tag team match was so. It wasn't even. It was decent. It was just decent. It was a decent men's tag team match for the main event of Impact Wrestling tonight. This was just an overall decent, okay men's so main event match tonight for Impact Wrestling in this 2-on-2 men's tag team match in the main event of Impact Wrestling with Chris Bay and Moose versus the team of Rich Swann and Willie Mack. I thought this match was just decent enough to be the main event tonight of Impact Wrestling. I just didn't really think anything of it. I'm going to be honest. I just don't care about this tag team match. I really didn't, man. It didn't really do nothing for me. I just didn't. It does nothing for me. Tag team matches do nothing for me. They really don't, and I hate to say that. These tag team matches, they just do nothing for me. I'm not a fan of tag team wrestling, man. I'm just not. So, this was a decent main event tonight for Impact Wrestling with Chris Bay and Moose versus Willie Mack and Rich Swann in the main event of Impact Wrestling tonight in this men's 2-on-2 tag team match for the main event. I thought this main event was just good enough to be decent for what it was. Like I said, it wasn't really all that great. It was just a decent 2-on-2 men's tag team match for the main event tonight for Impact Wrestling. And Moose and Chris Bay ended up picking up the win over Rich Swann and Willie Mack. Now let's get to the closing of the show tonight with Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega was the best thing about Impact Wrestling tonight. Kenny Omega's segment tonight on Impact Wrestling was the best thing about Impact Wrestling itself tonight overall. I think Impact Wrestling is going to see a slight raise in the viewership tonight for Impact Wrestling because of Kenny Omega and him being there. I think they're going to get a slight viewership from that. But overall, Kenny Omega's segment tonight on Impact Wrestling was the best thing about Impact Wrestling tonight overall. Kenny Omega's segment tonight was probably the best thing about Impact Wrestling overall tonight. I'm going to be honest. Kenny Omega's segment was really, really good. I enjoyed Kenny Omega's segment tonight on Impact Wrestling. I think his segment was really, really good. I enjoyed it, man. Kenny Omega's segment tonight for the closing of Impact Wrestling was the best thing about the show. It was straight and to the point. Kenny Omega, hit home everything he said that he was going to do to Jon Moxley. He did. He beat Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship. And, Kenny Omega talked about how, him and Don Callis are family. And Kenny Omega just pretty much had a really, really awesome segment tonight in the closing of Impact Wrestling. Kenny Omega's segment in the closing of Impact Wrestling tonight was the best thing about Impact Wrestling tonight. And that is me being completely honest. Kenny Omega's segment tonight on Impact Wrestling was the best thing about Impact Wrestling all night. So, I'm going to give Impact Wrestling a 1 out of 10. I really loved the Kenny Omega segment. Like I said, that was the best segment of the night with Kenny Omega in the closing of Impact Wrestling. That's how Impact Wrestling closed the show with Kenny Omega. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really, really good segment with Kenny Omega tonight in the closing of Impact Wrestling. I really, really enjoyed Kenny Omega's segment tonight on Impact Wrestling. So overall, I'm going to give Impact Wrestling a 1 out of 10 for the Kenny Omega segment tonight in the closing of Impact Wrestling. But overall, I think that Impact Wrestling is gonna. I think they're gonna see a slight viewership go up because of the Kenny Omega segment tonight on their show. I think they're gonna see a slight viewership go up. I think their viewership is gonna go up because of the Kenny Omega segment. I think their viewership will go up just a little bit because of Kenny Omega being there and because of the Kenny Omega segment. So I think Impact Wrestling will see a slight raise in the rating because of the Kenny Omega segment and just because Kenny Omega was on Impact Wrestling tonight. So I think Impact Wrestling is going to see a slight raise in viewership because of Kenny Omega tonight. So overall, if there's one thing I would suggest you guys go back and watch tonight on Impact Wrestling, go back and watch the segment with Kenny Omega in the closing segment of Impact Wrestling tonight. Go back and watch this segment with Kenny Omega in the closing segment of Impact Wrestling tonight. Kenny Omega's segment was really, really good, man. I enjoyed Kenny Omega's closing segment tonight in the closing of Impact Wrestling. I thought Kenny Omega's segment was really, really good. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun to watch. It was enjoyable. I like Kenny Omega. I'm a huge Kenny Omega fan. So I really enjoyed this segment with Kenny Omega tonight in the closing of Impact Wrestling, with this segment with Kenny Omega tonight during Impact Wrestling for the closing of their show. So overall, I'm going to give Impact Wrestling a 1 out of 10. Like I said, if there's one thing I would suggest you guys go back and watch that on Impact Wrestling. Go back and watch the segment with Kenny Omega. So anyway, guys, thank you guys for watching this Impact Wrestling review. If you guys enjoyed this Impact Wrestling review, hit that thumbs up. It helps my YouTube channel in the YouTube algorithm. And guys, make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Select that notification bell to all. That way you won't miss anything here on the channel. So guys, make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and select all for the notifications. So guys, thank you guys for watching this Impact Wrestling review tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night for AEW. I'm excited for AEW tomorrow night. So thank you guys for watching this AEW review. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. You guys have a blessed night. Stay safe, stay warm. I love you guys. You guys have a good one, man. Your boy is out. Peace.